We are back with part 2 of Inferno.
Previously on Webheads.
So the last part of the story we got to was Dark Child, Illyana, Magik, whatever you want to call her. Just kind of went full dark evil on everybody. She's completely covered in like this silver metal form, almost like her brother Colossus, but it looks more like
armor.
Yeah, kind of almost like the Destroyer in the Thor movie. Not so much detailed like Colossus's face is, where you can see all his emotions and stuff like that. The Madelyne Pryor has gone to the dark side as well. She's fully embraced her Goblin Queen persona, and she has found out that Mr. Sinister is her father. And we'll get her quote unquote father. We will, and the second half of this that definitely gets into what that's all about. And we're not going to get into all of what we've been up to lately because, as some of you may know, these 2-part episodes we record all at one time. So we haven't done anything different in the last 2 hours.
No.
So all I'm going to do on this one real quick, just give you a quick rundown of what comics are coming out this week, which is tomorrow, the 28th of September. We got a spin-off issue of the Axe, the Judgment Day story, Avengers #1. So it's a little Avengers spin-off of that. That should be good. Ant-Man #3. Those have been really good. Have you checked those out yet?
I keep wanting to.
They're really good. It's Ant-Man from the original Ant-Man ends up going forward in time and meeting other Ant-Man. Oh. And the style of the drawings of the art kind of changes as they go through time. So that one's pretty good. Captain America, Symbol of Truth. We're still kind of early in that story. It's only #5 that's coming out this week, so you can still catch up. Those ones are pretty good. That's the Sam Wilson Captain America comics. Damage Control #2 is coming out. I didn't love the first one. I'm not going to get the second one.
Good. Well, not good, but like I was going to get it, but
yeah, it's not worth it really for me. I heard Defenders Beyond #3 is coming out. I haven't read those, but I heard they're pretty good. I've heard a lot of good things about those.
I haven't even heard of those before.
Yeah. Fortnite Marvel Zero War #5 is out. I haven't read any of those. I will not. Fortnite?
Do you play Fortnite?
What else? Gambit #3 is out. I read the first one, didn't like it, haven't gone back. Don't plan on it. Surprisingly, Genus Vale, Captain Marvel, #3 is coming out. Surprisingly, I like those ones. Genus Vale is Marvel's son, the original Captain Marvel. This is his son. He has just come back to life, and he's going through some shit. So this one's pretty good. What else we got? There's some ones that are way further into the story. Won't give into those because I don't know how that works really. If you can go back and find those, you can find most of them on Marvel Unlimited though.
Marvel Unlimited.
So go back. Well, fuck it. Miles Morales Spider-Man's #42 is coming out this week. I'm pretty sure you can find up to Miles Morales 40 on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, I think I'm close to that.
Yeah, because it's 3 months after it comes out originally before it shows up there. So
it used to be 6 months.
Yeah, they cut it down to 3.
Hopefully they do another.
Yeah, cut it down to a month. You know what? Just give it to us the next week.
Yeah.
I would pay more. I shouldn't say this because you guys might do it, but I would pay more for Marvel Unlimited to get it to get these comics to next week.
Yeah. I'd pay like, I don't know, $4 or $5 more.
Yeah, maybe don't do it. I don't know. This is your guys' choice. Amazing Spider-Man number 10 comes out, and I'm on that one pretty heavy. It's been pretty good. I haven't read number 9 yet, but that one should be good. And what else we got? Nothing. Some variant covers of some older ones. They always got the digital chapters on Marvel Unlimited that you can read that are brand new stories. Or not brand new stories for all of them. They're kind of older comics as if from like the last couple of years, but retold in like that unlimited scrolling kind of story. And a whole bunch of trade paperbacks coming out this week. And that's pretty much it. Well, they got a Marvel Masterworks coming out, Werewolf by Night, this week, the 28th. It looks the cover just looks cool. But not really my thing. I don't have a bookshelf. But that's all we got for this week that's coming out. Things might change. Some of those books might not come out because sometimes they hold them off. Sometimes they push them back a little bit, depending on whatever their reasoning is. I don't know. But because we're recording these kind of ahead of time, sometimes it can change. So some of that stuff might not come out. But either way, go to your local comic book shop, check it out, buy something, throw some money their way. Go now.
Do it.
Gabe, I'm talking to you. You live right down the street. Go buy something. Grandma, there's one right there by Safeway. You used to work at Safeway. Go get one. Anybody else? Dad? I know that you're going to listen to this at one point. I don't know if that's today or 3 months down the line. But either way, if wherever you're at, I'm sure there's a comic book shop not far from you. So go check it out. And we're going to get back to the story. So, here we are. We are Uncanny 241. Uncanny X-Men 241. So, here we are back with the X-Men, where we last saw the Goblin Queen get slapped with the harsh news that she was created by Mr. Sinister.
The Goblin Queen.
Yes. The Goblin Queen was created by Mr. Sinister. And she refuses to believe that because she has like this long list of she doesn't believe that because he has a long list of like these fucked up achievements. Like he's the mastermind behind the Marauders who killed all the Morlocks in the Mutant Massacre story that we did a while ago. He stole her son a few months ago. So, like, for him to just kind of toss this news out there, she's like, you're probably not telling the truth. So,
but would it be that hard to believe that?
I mean, not really from the outside of it. Like, no, he's a horrible person. He probably did do that. But I don't know what it takes to create a person, so... So she's pissed off. She sends the demons that she's with to attack him, but they're in his home base. He's got his defenses up. It's no contest. He then chains her up, and the chains are enchanted to use her energy to add strength of the hold. So every time she starts to struggle, it takes that energy and then makes the hold even stronger. And the Goblin Queen calls for Nastir to help out, and he just acts like he can't hear anything. Like, oh damn, these swords are nice. Wonder what's going on back at home. So we jump back to New York, and then the X-Men are still fighting the Marauders at this point when they found them in the alley, when Havoc was being nosy on his little computer. And they're still losing pretty bad until Longshot throws his lucky blade that hits Vertigo in the head, and it knocks her out. And then that's when they start to get the upper hand. And the X-Men start to go all out. Havoc even kills Harpoon from the Marauders. So now he's a murderer. And then we cut back to the Goblin Queen, and she's telling Sinister You're full of it. I have all these memories of my parents, my friends growing up, the whole nine. So he calls her bluff and he says, okay, tell me one of your memories. And then she goes into her memory of her friend dying when she was 10. And then he says the memory back to her, word for word, as she's saying it. The whole memory. And then now she's kind of confused, and he tells her, no, those aren't your memories. Those are Jean Grey's memories.
Oh, so she's a clone.
Yeah. So the memory that she recalled is actually Jean's memory from the day her powers manifested. And so to time travel here a little back into the past. Here's how all of this happened. So after Jean's powers came, Mr. Sinister planned on killing Jean's parents at the time. So she would be forced to go to his orphanage at the State Home for Foundlings, which is in Nebraska. But then Professor X showed up before he could do any of that. Convinced her parents to let her go to the school for gifted youngsters, but not before Mr. Sinister showed up to take a blood sample from her, like in an evil way. Like it wasn't like, hey, I just need a little bit of your blood. So he got a blood sample from her, and then after he took the blood sample, then he blocked any memories that she had of him doing that in her head. So then he used the blood sample to create a clone of her that he then grew into adulthood in an incubator. And then as she grew, he noticed that she didn't have the same mutant powers that Jean had, and he was planning on just getting rid of the clone. Until one night, her chamber burst into flames in the shape of a bird, and then the clone then yelled out for Scott, just screamed Scott, as the phoenix flames kind of flew out of the incubator. And then she passed out. So now we're back into the present. Nastir is hiding in the shadows now, listening to Mr. Sinister tell the story to Madelyne. And then Nastir comes up with the idea to save Madelyne from all this. And then if he does that, then she'll be indebted to him forever, basically. We jump back to Manhattan. Sim and his demons come up on the X-Men and the Marauders throwing hands in the alley, and then he decides to join the fight with his demons. The X-Men killed all the demons, all except for one who Colossus recognizes from the time that he had gone into Limbo. I don't know how he differentiated that one from the rest, but sure. So, but then he's like, nah, screw this. Then he kills that demon. And then
did him and that demon, I'm assuming they didn't get along.
They must have had some fun between each other, yeah. He was like, nah, that's my kill. Hey, Colossus! What's up? And then he's like, nah, if that guy's from Limbo and he's here, I gotta go find my sister. Because something bad is going on. And he's like, he tells everybody, he's like, I gotta leave, I gotta go find my sister because she might be the only way to stop all this from happening. So, again, we jump back to Nebraska. Mr. Sinister is explaining to Madelyne that after researching it all, he found that when Jean sacrificed herself on the moon in the Dark Phoenix saga, that was the exact moment that Madelyne woke up screaming for Scott. So now discovering that Madelyne has some powers because Jean was gone. It's like because Jean was gone for a while, the Phoenix brought Madelyne some powers. Where the hell am I? So when Mr. Sinister realized that she did have some powers, he set the clone up with a fake name, Madelyne, false memories, and organized for her to meet Scott and eventually have a baby together. So Mr. Sinister set all of this into play.
They don't look alike.
They look almost exactly alike.
No one thought that was weird the first time.
I'm sure they all did.
That's weird for Scott to even like. Here's this person that looks exactly like your wife.
Yeah. Like,
You'd just be like.
so you're like, you're in love with Jean in the first place, right? And then she dies. You're mourning. And then months later, this woman who shows up, who isn't Jean, but looks exactly like her, shows up in your life. And you're like, yeah, that's the girl I want to be with.
I got a type and she's it.
Yeah. You marry her, you have a baby with her. And, like, there's no denying that you're only with her because she looks like the woman that you just lost.
And probably acts like her.
Yeah. And everybody else is just like, I mean, that's Scott's thing. What are we supposed to do?
It's weird.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, somebody should have said something. So, yeah, so Mr. Sinister set up the whole thing. Them even meeting in the first place, knowing that they're gonna get married, have a baby, all that stuff. Everything was going smooth until months later when the actual Jean showed up in the sands of Jamaica, just like almost lifeless. And that's when Scott left to go find her. Mr. Sinister knew if Jean and Madelyne ever met, Jean would be able to find out the truth. So he sent his marauders to to kidnap Madelyne and kill the baby, but they fucked up the job. She made it out alive, and now we're kind of where we're at. Back in Manhattan, the demons are leaving the bad energy around the area, and all the X-Men are seemingly becoming more and more bloodthirsty. And they take out all of the marauders, like kill them, except for Polaris, who gets away. Longshot gets bit by Nastir, who suddenly showed up out of nowhere, and Havoc tried to kill Nastir himself, but Nastir was too quick and then gets out. The X-Men want to go after. They want to try to find Nastir themselves. But Wolverine picks up the scent of someone familiar and convinces the team to follow him to go figure out who it is. We jump back again to Mr. Sinister, and he's telling Madelyne he wasn't worried about the failed assassination attempt on her life because not too long after that, she died in Dallas with the rest of the X-Men team. So he was like, well, cool, now I don't have to worry about shit. And but now that she's back and has more powers than she did before, his plan is to just dissect her and figure out what caused her to gain more powers. Because that's confusing for him. Before he can do that, she uses her powers to overload the locks that he has on her arms. And right before she brings the fight to... she gets out of the chains, and then she's like, no, I gotta go find Nastir. She's like, I gotta kill Mr. Sinister now, because now I'm out. I'm free. But right before she does that, Nastir shows up with her son in hand. And he's like, now this is like my play, because she's out. I have what she was looking for. Now she's indebted to me because I got what she wanted. So Mr. Sinister tells her that he was planning on killing the baby for all that the baby represents. She tells Mr. Sinister that she's planning on killing the baby, her son, for all that the baby represents, because of Mr. Sinister's manipulations to even bring him into this world in the first place, and to kill off Scott's hopes and false love that he had for her and the baby.
So now she's like more angry.
Yeah.
She'd already given into like
she had already given into the evil, the darkness part of it.
Oh, so now
and
she's
then
like...
she made it seem like she wanted the baby because it's her son. But now we're finding out that she only wants the baby to basically just get back at Scott
For leaving.
And for not ever really loving. Like, now that she found out that she was basically an exact clone of Jean,
it makes more sense why.
Yeah, and it pisses her off even more. So, yeah, she wants to kill baby Nathan for all those reasons, and then if she does this, that would complete the sacrifice for herself to fully give herself into the Inferno, which is and the Inferno essentially is what they're calling all of the demons in New York, and that if she does that sacrifice of baby Nathan, then that would be enough to keep that portal open as a bridge between Limbo and Earth completely. It would never close. So that's where we're at. And then we jump over to New Mutants number 73. And we see Illyana being ridiculed by Sim because she's given herself to the darkness of it all, but she still has something in her head telling her, I can't really do this. And Sim, the demon, who's trying to really do all this to take her spot as a ruler of Limbo, just keeps like berating her, making fun of her for not being able to like take that leap, and just because if she fully gives in, she immediately would take his spot as the leader. Like she has too much power for her to not overtake him in all of this. And she won't give in to the darkness, but all in all, that makes it easier for him to defeat her, like I said, because she doesn't want to go fully dark. Illyana lets him know, whatever you're thinking, don't try it. You couldn't kill me when I was young, and you're not going to be able to do it now. So, and he says, Sim says, Nastir is the only reason you're alive right now, and he's gone, so what's up? Like, what are you going to do? So she's fed up. She slices Sim in half, but because he was already infected by I said technovirus, but it's called the techno-organic virus. He was already infected by that, so when she slices him in half, he just reforms right in front of her, and now she's really tempted to just go completely dark because she's sick of this shit. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the New Mutants are flying around trying to find Illyana, and Colossus is across town doing the same, beating up demons, asking where his sister is. Because I'm sure that's the best way to do it. The demons are actually getting the upper hand on Colossus, and they end up beating his ass, and they take him to Sim as like a prize. Like, hey, look what we did. And and so now in front of Sim, Colossus gets his ass beat again, but this time he's getting his ass beat in front of his sister, who thinks Sim is playing a game with him or with her, because she knows that Colossus is supposed to be dead. Like, you're trying to fool me with beating up my brother, but my brother's dead. That's not really him.
Yeah.
So just then, the New Mutants show up, knocking Sim out and stealing Illyana away, but they don't get too far because Colossus and Sim start fighting. The brawl ends up leading its way right in front of the New Mutants. Colossus stops fighting and stares at Illyana, and she stares back in disbelief. She starts crying and says, "Oh, I thought you were dead. Like, what the hell's going on?" And then she apologizes to Colossus that he has to see her in this dark child form, because this isn't how she wanted him to ever see her, because he's always looked at her just like the little baby. God damn. I haven't talked as much in a while. This is more than I've talked in like the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, they're just staring back and forth. She's crying. He says, don't worry about it. She teleports herself and the New Mutants away back to Limbo. And Colossus and Sim just get right back into the fight. Back in Limbo, Illyana sees how badly the place looks and she left, and decides once again to grab the reins and become the Dark Child, the ruler of Limbo again. And then her teammate, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Rain or Ron, Rahne. She's kind of like a little wolf type girl. But so Rain from the New Mutants can't accept the fact that Illyana wants to stay in Limbo. So she runs to a teleport disc because they're just everywhere in Limbo. And her team follows. And now she's on the hunt trying to find the young Illyana in hopes that she can save the older version. So with Limbo, time is just like not really a thing. So it's like those teleport discs can take you 500 years into the past. It can take you 2 years into the future. Or it could take you 2 minutes into the past, whatever. Like there's no
if or reason to anything.
Yeah. That's why when Illyana was like really in control of everything, she could just teleport to wherever she wanted to because she knew like she had all the power in Limbo. But Rain and the rest of the New Mutants don't have that, so they're literally just she's hoping to find the young Illyana somewhere on these teleport discs, but she has no way of figuring out how to get to that. So they're hoping to find the younger version of her so they can save the older version of her. They do end up finding the young Illyana, and they use her to convince the older one to give up ruling Limbo, and it seems like they seem to be convincing her to give it up. And then Illyana teleports everybody back to Manhattan, and then when they get there, she creates this giant teleport disc. She throws her soul sword into it, which begins to suck all of the demons back into Limbo. Manhattan starts turning back into its normal self. Once it's all done, we're left with Illyana's limp armor laying on the ground, and everyone believes that she's dead now. Because she threw her soul sword into the teleport disc. She doesn't know where any of that stuff is going now. But she gave it up. Colossus runs over to his sister thinking the same, thinking she's dead. He picks her up, he's cradling her, he's crying. Minutes later, from inside the armor, they hear this little girl's voice. She's like a little small child. They hear a voice coming through. So Colossus tears open the armor, and then he sees Illyana the same age she was when she first made it to Limbo. So he gives her a hug, he gives her a kiss, and then that was the end of that part. But what it cuts away, and then we see Sinister watching from a distance, disappointed at how the whole thing turned out. And then he turns, looks to the Goblin Queen standing at the top of the Empire State Building, and she's just like standing up there, ready to just take over everything, rule the whole world. And yeah, everything has made its way, or the soul sword goes away. A lot of the demons get sucked in, but not everything is changing back immediately. So right now, the Empire State Building is like the major piece of New York that still is kind of demonized, and it's still. I think they said it's almost half the size bigger than it originally is, like normally. So
did that guy ever get out of the stamp?
Eventually, yeah, yeah. But he was like super confused when he came out and was like, I don't know what the hell happened. Like those demons were just fucking around. I don't know what the hell was going on. So then we go over to X Factor 37. Like I said, the Goblin Queen's up on the Empire State Building, just kind of waiting to take everything over. Meanwhile, X Factor is working on following Cyclops' son. But Nasir is doing his best to kind of block that mental link that Jean and Nathan have together. And Jean can still... So, the baby's name is Nathan Christopher. You know who he is as he gets older. Why am I not? Cable. So, they named the baby Nathan Christopher Summers. And I don't know why they ever did it, but Nathan is the name of one of the boys in the orphanage that Scott grew up in. And it was like one of Scott's bullies. So I'm assuming that this was maybe like a subconscious, like, evil thing that Madelyne wanted done. But he hates the fact that anybody ever calls his son Nathan. He hates it. So he always calls him Christopher. So here we are. Jean consents baby Nate. I kind of switch back and forth in my notes, but I'll just stick with Nathan so everybody can stick with it. But she consents baby Nathan's thoughts, and she's able to levitate her whole team in the air towards him. But when they get close, they see that Sinister has baby in hand, and then as soon as they get close enough to even make eye contact with the baby, Sinister teleports away with them. And so now the demons that are up there are left to continue to fight with X-Factor to stop them from making their way up to where we now see the baby is up at the top with Madelyne, the steer. They're all three of them are just kind of sitting there chilling, waiting. And X-Factor kind of makes their way through the demons. And finally, the Goblin Queen, Madelyne Pryor, teleports down in front of them with baby Nathan in hand. And Sinister and Jean's parents, who are demons right now, they all show up right there in front of X-Factor. And X-Factor is surprised to see her because up until now, they hadn't seen Madelyne in any of this stuff. So now Scott's there just looking for his son, trying to get away. And all of a sudden, Madelyne shows up. And she's with the demon. She has her baby in hand. And so one thing, this is completely off course, right? Why did comic book artists always draw women in like this like G-string kind of like outfit?
I was just looking at I was looking at a cover for one of the issues.
Yeah.
And like Madelyne's wearing like what seems like a reverse one-piece bikini or something.
Yeah.
Where it's just covering the boobs.
It
open
barely covers her chest.
Yeah. Like
it
the
barely covers.
boob is like out.
Yeah. And she's in that the whole time. Once she turns into the Goblin Queen, that is her full fit.
Like
24/7.
If that's how you're comfortable, that's how you're comfortable. But comic book artists, yeah, they it was sexualized. I mean, Psylocke's outfit,
yeah,
is just a one-piece bathing suit that's too small for her.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's over doing flips and kicks and stuff.
Yeah, the Grandmaster shows up. He's in a full-on cloak, like a animal cloaked over him.
Yeah.
He's got on this long ass dress looking thing, and the Goblin Queen shows up, and she's in like the skimpiest bikini.
Yeah, the women wear like the most skin tight, like,
yeah,
reveal as much as possible outfits, while the men wear like armored up,
yeah,
like suits and.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, like how are you fighting people? Like, granted, like you're not throwing punches and kicks most of the time,
no.
But still, like.
Oh, I mean, your cape's flying everywhere. So, like, I can only imagine that this bikini is not going to stay on too well. And and like you said, yeah, cool. If that's what you prefer fighting in, that makes sense. Go ahead. Do your thing. I'm not fighting you. I don't care. But I can't imagine that's the most comfortable thing to fight in.
Yeah.
And it's it's just mad creepy. Because it's like, you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to draw them this way.
Yeah.
and you're like, "No, this is what the guys want to see."
Yeah, I'd rather not.
No,
It's just so
No.
distracting from the book.
I thought about it so much. Like, there's just no reason for you to be dressed like this.
Like, this is a little off topic, but like within like the last maybe like 10 years, Spider Woman, they give her that new suit. It's more like a jacket with like the pants and everything.
Yeah,
I like that suit more than like her original suit.
the original one was just kind of like a one piece
Yeah,
bikini
like the
kind of thing,
It wasn't really bikini. It was just like all.
like down to her legs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, but now she has like it's like a, I think like yellow and red and gray like sort of jacket.
Yeah.
With like the pants. I like that outfit more than her original one, because the original one, like, I just don't understand the whole.
I get it. Like, I watch wrestling. Like, there's guys walking around in just their underwear fighting each other.
Yeah.
Maybe it is more comfortable. I don't know. But like, if you come out and you wore pants for 20 years and then they cut it down to like just a one piece kind of bikini cut, sure, I get it. I don't like my pants covered I don't like my legs covered most of the time anyways. I understand. But she was like, Madelyne was just walking around in jeans and shirts as a normal person. Then she becomes the Goblin Queen and she's like, take it all. Take it all. I only want these two spots covered up here and a little bit right there. That's it. And then on top of that, I want a cape. I want that shit to flow. That made no sense. But I digress. So X Factor, like I said, is surprised to see Madelyne in the first place. They thought she died in the Fall of the Mutants. Cyclops asks her, like, what are your plans for our son? And she yells, or he says, what are your plans for our son, Christopher? And she's like, don't call him that. We don't call him that anymore. We call him Nathan now because Scott hates the name. So she puts baby Nathan down, and then she just starts fighting Cyclops. She's mad because she knows he never loved her. She was just a decent filler in place for Jean. She's hurt.
Yeah.
She's hurt. So while they're fighting, Nathan starts crying during the fight, and Jean tries to telepathically soothe him, and then her doing that pushes Madelyne completely off the rails here. It's like, do not try to soothe my son
that I'm trying to kill.
that I'm going to sacrifice in 15 minutes. Do not do it. So that pushes her completely off the rails. Nastir, of course, has a plan of his own here. He starts to worry because Madelyne is ready to kill X Factor and Nathan, but if she does it too soon, it'll ruin everything for his plan. Nastir tries to cool her down by sweet-talking her and making her feel like she's all too powerful to be controlled by anyone, even him. So just trying to make her seem like she's above everything else that's out there. He tells her that the X-Men are close. That the X-Men are close by, and that she should work out a way for them to run into each other, X Factor and X-Men, because they don't, history-wise, they don't like each other at this point. So, all in all, his whole purpose is for her to sacrifice baby Nathan at the top of the Empire State Building at the right time so he can make the bridge between Limbo and Earth permanent, and hoping that he would become said leader of both. Jesus. So Nastir leaves. Madelyne continues to fight against X Factor. And Madelyne, being tired of the bullshit at this point, she shoots a powerful blast at X Factor. And then when the dust finally settles, X Factor is sitting pretty inside this huge crater that she created after she sent the blast. And out of nowhere, Madelyne shows up right next to Cyclops in her normal clothes. And she asks him, like, well, why do you want to take my baby away from me? And she's asking, like, none of this stuff has ever, like, nothing in the last 5 minutes has happened at all. She's like completely just Madelyne before anything happened. Why do you want to take my baby away from me? Why are you doing this? Like, and now he's like super confused. Everyone's confused. And then to add to the confusion, Wolverine shows up. He sees Jean, who's supposed to be dead. He just walks up to her, caresses her cheek, and then asks, like, are you real? And then that was the end of that issue. So we go to 242. And then just to be 100% sure that is Jean, that he thinks it is, he kisses her. Just to make sure that it's actually her. And this man has no boundaries whatsoever.
How does kissing somebody prove that that's...
I don't know. I mean,
it proves that they're literally... That they're somebody standing in front of you. It doesn't prove that that's not a shapeshifter or a demon.
You picked up her smell.
Yeah, like, shouldn't that be enough?
It should be.
I can smell really good, but I think my lips will tell me a little bit more.
I gotta taste it.
My new power is I gotta kiss people.
Picked up a new power. You guys were all gone. I can only tell if it's you if I kiss you. Sorry. Cyclops, are you next? So, yeah, he kissed her just to make sure. Seconds later, the X-Men and the X-Factor teams meet for the first time. And they're all surrounding Madelyne at this point, who's still in her regular clothes, holding baby Nathan. They don't waste any time in trying to save baby Nathan from all this stuff. Beast and Bobby Drake the Iceman try to jump her to no avail. She completely shoots that off. And Havoc comes in and saves her from a couple blasts as well. So Havoc's completely on her side. At this point, the X-Men and X-Factor are starting to fight each other because they can't work together. And X-Men still kind of believes that X-Factor has been hunting mutants this whole time when they've really been trying to save them. And Dark Angel and Wolverine start going at each other. Rogue tries to go in for the save to help Wolverine. But when she tries to kiss Angel to take his powers, instead of gaining his powers, all she sees is Apocalypse. It's just a vision of Apocalypse in front of her. And she's like, nope, pulls away from him and just kind of falls to the ground. By the time she realizes what happened to Cyclops, Cyclops shoots her from behind with his optic blast behind his, what does he call him? His
ruby quartz
visor. And then when he walks around in his civvies, he's got his ruby quartz glasses. He always has to say the whole thing, though. Anyone see my glasses?
My ruby quartz glasses?
Which ones? My ruby quartz glasses? You know, the red ones? So, Iceman tries to freeze Havoc with no luck there. Dazzler and Longshot start falling under some, like, weird spell. That's, like, the weird negativity that's going around. And the two of them just start making out in the middle of the battlefield. I don't know what happened, but they just started making out. Cyclops is trying to get Madelyne out of the field at this point because she's still just standing there. And as he's trying to get her out of there, she starts berating him about leaving her and the baby. When Cyclops tries to defend himself, Havoc steps in and he starts fighting Cyclops for going back in his marital vows. And at the same time, Jean is battling her demon parents. So Havoc is just like, hey man, you promised to like be with her forever.
He took a vow in front of the Lord.
And that's kind of fucked up that you didn't do that. So now I'm here to kick your ass. Like, that's fucked up, dude. You told the Lord.
He took a vow in front of all your friends and family.
What about mom and dad? They're dead. Sorry, Alex.
Or so we think.
They come back. They're part of the Mysterious crew. So,
do these people look recognizable to you? Come on out. It's like the parents.
Mom, Dad?
The dad does that same pose.
Oh, me? Recognize me? Come here, son. I just saw that somebody on my fantasy team got ejected from the game. That's gonna work out well. So out of nowhere, Nastir shows up with his with his demonic stagecoach, and he's ready to take Madelyne and the baby Nathan away. Now Cyclops has a dire battle in front of him to save his wife, his current wife, which is Madelyne, and his child from being taken away by a demon, or saving Jean from her parents. And we all know who he goes for. He goes to save Jean. Because that's all he's ever loved. So, yeah, he goes to save Jean. Nastir takes Madelyne and the baby, and then they just take off. Havoc hops on the back of the carriage because they almost took off without him. Scott saves Jean, and the both of them go back up to their teams and to help them fight. Because the X-Men and X-Factor are still fighting each other throughout all of this stuff. As the carriage rides away through the city, they're just going on a tour through the city right now. Madelyne changes back into the Goblin Queen, and when they stop at the Empire State Building, she realizes that Havoc is still hanging on to the back of the carriage throughout the city. So she then asks Havoc to pledge his loyalty to her, and when he does quickly, she then knights him as the Goblin Prince. And as they head up to the top of the Empire State Building to sacrifice baby Nathan, they don't see Colossus spying on them and climbing the building from the opposite side of which they're going up. So Colossus was like peeking around the corner. He saw them going up, and he's like, "Nah, I gotta fix this," and just starts climbing up the other side. So now we jump over to Central Park. The X-Men and the X-Factor still fighting when X-Factor finds out that the X-Men don't know that the X-Factor actually outed themselves already as a team trying to save mutants.
Because they get the news late.
And then Cyclops starts searching for Storm in the hopes of ending this fight, explaining the whole situation. And I don't know if I get to it at any point, but I believe we do. But at the end of this issue, if I don't get to why they don't know that news, let me know and I'll tell you. So now at the top of the Empire State Building, Nastir, the Goblin Queen, and Prince are ready to start the sacrifice after the Goblin Queen she's formed an altar at the top of the Empire State Building.
I know Havoc is like, him and Madelyne have their thing,
Mm-hmm.
but is he like under any mind control or anything like that? Or
No.
So he's willing to just help her murder this child?
He's convinced that she's really been fucked over by his brother. Like, that's how convinced he is. He's like, fuck the baby.
So much so that he's willing to sacrifice his nephew.
Yeah.
Wow, what an asshole.
I don't give a fuck, Scott. That's Scott's kid. I'm here for the girl. So the Goblin Queen has formed her altar at the top where she's going to sacrifice the baby. Seconds later, the Goblin Queen finds out that baby Nathan has reached out to Jean telepathically about his impending sacrifice. So
speed it up, lady.
Speed it up. Come on, stepmom. I need your help. So the Goblin Queen decides to hold off on the sacrifice until she can kill Jean first. Storm finally decides to join everyone and grabs Jean to say hello after all this time, to stop the fight. And they all decide that, hey, we all need to get together to save baby Nathan here. Immediately after they stop fighting, Nastir shows up and he starts just beating everybody's ass himself. Colossus finally makes it to the top where the Goblin Queen is and immediately gets blasted off off the altar. But he gets saved by the Iceman who was trying to make his own way up there. So he saves Colossus. But he saves him by building like an ice slide under him. But it sends Colossus flying off the slide. But he flies off to the slide into Sinister. Which weakens Sinister because of his unnatural weakness to iron. And then Sinister teleports away. So now we have Psylocke and Jean trying to link up telepathically. And so they can share their secrets and their travels over the past few months, so maybe they can better handle this fight going forward. I don't get it.
It doesn't seem like the time or place to
Probably not.
talk about where you've been and where you want to go.
Oh, you should try this restaurant that we went to last week. It was great. Okay, yeah, sure, guys. So, yeah. Then they end up sending Colossus back up the Empire State Building. And then when he gets up there, he gets captured. But he was basically just used as a distraction. Dark Angel and Wolverine attack Sinister, which then allows Storm and Iceman to freeze him. And then as he tries to cast a spell on the ice, Cyclops, Storm, and Dazzler light him up, causing him to overheat. And then as a final blow, Storm rains down these lightning bolts to cause Sinister to explode. But even with Sinister gone, the Inferno spell still seems to be in place, so he doesn't seem to be a real factor in keeping the bridge open. And while they all celebrate the small victory, Jean is whisked away, and when they all look to see who did it, they're all surprised for some reason that the Goblin Queen is still standing there looking stronger than ever, and she was the one who whisked away Jean. And what was I going to go back and tell?
What were you going to tell?
It's gotta be Judy. You can lock me up and put me in cuffs. I should have just said it then.
I feel like it was something that you touched on. Oh, wasn't it like why the X-Men didn't know something?
Oh, yeah. I might get to it again later because I can't remember if I put it in my notes or not. But so the reason the X-Men never knew that X-Factor had outed themselves as mutant savers, helping people that were mutants, is because Madelyne was the one controlling their news.
Oh,
she was getting the recordings, and she was anything that had anything to do with X Factor, cut it out.
I was wondering if that was going to play a factor because when you said that she like collects the news and everything, and then I was like, well, what is like when you said that she became evil and the Goblin Queen? I was like, okay, that's has to factor in somewhere.
Yeah, so she was basically editing any news about X Factor that came in. So they would only...
They only had what they knew.
Yeah. And what they knew was only what she was giving them. So we are... Guys, we're on the last one.
Hallelujah.
We're on X Factor number 38. So right now, the Goblin Queen's looking stronger than ever. She's whisked Jean away. She's got her in like this force field bubble. And Goblin Queen just gets straight to it. She tells Cyclops straight up, like, I'm doing this to get revenge on you and everyone else who has ruined my life. So you, Jean, I'm sacrificing him to get back at the both of you. And then Cyclops tells her, like, Sinister isn't here anymore. The gate to Limbo is closed, so give it up. She says, like, no, hell no. Like, I told you what my plan is. I'm sacrificing this baby tonight. And both teams then try to attack her, but Longshot messed everything up because Longshot's powers only work if he has good intentions in getting it to work. But because he was under like that kind of spell where him and Dazzler were just making out in the middle of the field, his mind's all clouded. He's gotten back to his normal self a little bit, but he still can't get like his mind into the right space. So when he tries to attack the bubble, he kind of messes everything up because he throws his knife. It bounces off at the wrong spot and it ends up hitting other people and damaging like the team and like kind of taking some people out. So and so because that happens, it ends. Both teams start fighting with each other again because they're like, he's just doing this shit on purpose. Like we know Longshot. We know he doesn't ever like miss. Like he's doing this shit on purpose. So they start fighting with each other again. They quickly gather themselves again. They stop the bickering. They try to attack the Goblin Queen again, but she blocks all the attempts. Now they're in like her and Jean are in like this force field together, and for some reason I have trouble reading on this side. While attacking, she uses her powers to change Angel back into his demon form that Apocalypse originally built him in. So now Angel's on the outside of the bubble. He still had like the demon wings as like the Dark Angel, but mind wise he was the angel that he was before. But she's used her powers to turn him back into the demon that he was, that Apocalypse made him into. So now he's kind of losing his shit out there. And then she sends all of her demons towards both teams with all of her might to just attack them until hopefully they all die. She then sends Havoc to go kill his brother. She convinces Longshot and Dazzler to try to kill him as well. But Storm just blows the two of them away. But for some reason, she lets Havoc go. So I don't know what's going on there. And Angel is able to kind of will his way back into, or out of the Goblin Queen's control. And then he's able to kind of cut Jean loose so she can, I don't know how, but he's able to cut her loose a little bit so she can kind of use her powers. And Cyclops and Havoc are battling it out. While Scott tries to kind of reason with him, but nothing's working. And in the heat of the battle, some of the rubble starts falling from the building towards Havoc. And Cyclops saves him, but then he gets knocked out himself. So he goes in for the save on his brother who's been beating his ass this whole time. And then gets knocked out himself. So now Jean and the Goblin Queen are just like in this mental battle with each other trying to control the other one. The Goblin Queen creates another force field around her, Jean, and baby Nathan. And now that one's keeping everybody out from the battle. Madelyne tells Jean that she wasn't even born. She was brought into life as an adult, given someone else's memories. And now Jean is pissed off because Madelyne was only given those memories when she died through the Phoenix Force. Because when Jean died, or when they thought that the Phoenix died, Jean was dead. The Phoenix Force is... how do I say this? Let me make sure I don't lose my spot when I'm done. The Phoenix Force is designed to find Jean. Or someone with her genes. So it searched all the way around the world trying to find her, and then it found the clone of Jean. So it went there, put the memories into her. I guess it put the memories into her when Jean was fully just gone at that point. The Phoenix shot back out of Madelyne. That's when she was in the incubator, screams for Scott, and then the Phoenix was gone, but left those memories there. And yeah, so Jean's pissed because the Phoenix took those memories and just kind of forced them into Madelyne's life when Jean wasn't ever really gone in the first place. So we see, Jesus, Havoc is ready to end his brother at this point, even though he just saved his life. When Angel comes in for the save, but Havoc still gets his blast off, knocking Cyclops off of the building. But Cyclops is able to just catch himself on the rocks right before he completely falls off. Back in the Force bubble, Madelyne is now attempting her final blow against Jean. She is willingly killing herself. Or she's willingly killing her mind, hoping that because they have an actual link to each other, that it's going to end up killing Jean too. So meanwhile, the teams finally convince Longshot, Dazzler, and Havoc to help them breach the bubble. Inside the bubble, Jean learns the truth about Madelyne, how she was a clone made by Sinister, all that whole story before. And he only made her to be the perfect mate for Cyclops so that they would have a child together. When Cyclops abandoned her and the kid, Sinister tried to kill Madelyne, but it didn't work, obviously. That's where we're at now. So she teamed up with the X-Men, manipulated them, and then found Sinister, who promised her power again, which is how he got to this point. And Longshot finally gets his head straight. They burst through the bubble, but as soon as they do, the Goblin Queen tosses baby Nathan off the edge of the building, sending Cyclops to dive after him. And then with the Goblin Queen being somewhat distracted, Jean decides to accept the Phoenix Force that she had once denied and that now resides inside of Madelyne, absorbs all of Madelyne's memories. The Phoenix Force ends up breaking the Inferno spell, making Jean whole once again, but Madelyne dies in the end. Cyclops is now mourning his wife's death again, but also extremely happy to have his son back in his arms. In the end, Jean looks at Madelyne's dead body and can't get over the idea of how evil Mr. Sinister is and how fucked up his plan was to do all this. So that was pretty much the end of it all. Later on, we find out that Mr. Sinister had been playing a game with Scott almost all of his life. He was in charge of the orphanage that Scott and Alex lived in. He stifled Scott's powers early on, implanted false memories into his mind, and he also attempted to manipulate Jean at a young age too, because he thought the two of them would make the ultimate mutant together, but Professor X got to her, like I said, early. And but when she died on the moon, that's when he decided to make the clone, or bring the clone to life. And so he did all this in attempts to make the perfect mutant. So he knew early on that Cyclops and Jean were going to make the perfect mutant. So he did whatever he could within his powers to
hook them up.
Yeah.
What a creep.
Yeah, but then it also makes them kind of wonder, do we actually have something together, or is this, or are we forced here?
Yeah, that's something you have to think about.
Yeah, and then tying back to last week's episode where I said that I don't remember what I said, but in December of this year, there's going to be a new Inferno event with Madelyne and Ben Reilly, the Spider-Man clone.
Oh, isn't it like the Dark Web or something?
Yeah. So, and not called Inferno, I don't believe, but
and Venom is in it too, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna see what's going on with these two clones in December. But that was Inferno, the kind of the third part to this whole X-Men story.
This one, I'm going to give my rating right now.
Okay.
So, I know we mention it all the time about how, these are, 30, 40 issues, which are supposed to, they were put out over the course of 2 years. I'm going to give this one the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Kind of convoluted with a lot of, the backstories and retcons and all that.
Yeah.
But it was alright. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Well, what are you giving it?
I'll give it a house.
Oh, that was too low.
I wouldn't give it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a Paul Walker.
No. It, I liked it, so I'm going to give it a house, but it didn't need to be as long as it did.
No.
I cut out issues. I'm not even joking with you. The full, when I read that it, like, if I wanted the full complete story, I would have had to read 30 issues. I said, fuck you. I was almost going to cut the story out and not do it at all.
I want to know what the reasoning was for, like, did you really need 30 issues to tell this story?
Mm-mm. I would even be okay with this being like 12 or 13 total.
That's all that, I don't feel like they need to be.
It didn't need.
Any crossover needs to be more than 12 issues.
No.
Do one a month for a year. That's it.
I'm fine with that. You guys tried to fit in, like, and maybe it wasn't 30 exactly, but it was around about, like, it was between like 24 and 30.
That's a ridiculous
That's
amount.
too much. And it was only, I believe it was only spanned over like a year. It's over like 4 different stories, 4 different books, like almost 30 stories total. That's all you guys talked about in 4 different books for like a year.
Yeah.
No.
It's not necessary.
I cut out a lot. This story it took us 2 weeks to tell the story. And I cut out a lot.
It just needs to be what crossovers are now. Like, just make it its own separate thing.
Yeah.
Have tie-ins with the other books, but not necessary for the main story.
No. Like the Judgment Day one that's out right now. If you look at all the tie-ins, then it comes out to like 30 books.
Yeah.
But tie-ins aren't always necessary.
Yeah.
It's just like if you want to add something to the story, then cool. But it doesn't. The tie-ins aren't something necessary for you to read to get the whole story here.
Yeah.
I could just read these Judgment Day ones and be completely fine with where it's at right now.
Yeah, I haven't read any of the tie-ins.
I've read one tie-in, and it was like, okay, that wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
So there's a few that I'm going to go back to, that I'm going to pick up, but no. This was too long. I liked the story, and I wouldn't mind seeing this come to life at one point. But, 1, I know that's not going to happen for a really long time. And 2, it was just too long. That's my only criticism of it. It was just too long. The Dark Child stuff probably wasn't necessary either. Like, it didn't really do much for me, but overall, it was fun. It was more fun reading it, but like I said, with it being over 4 different books and having so many stories or so many issues of it, it's like you guys didn't plan it well enough for it to be great. Because it's over 4 books, now what's happening is I read part of the story, and then half of the Exterminator's book is before the last story I just read, and the other half is after. So it's like I'm getting part prequel in the middle of my story, just for only half the book to push the story forward.
Yeah.
And then it was too much there, but. Yeah, I overall I like the story itself, but too long. I'm excited. I'm hoping that I don't have to hit any more X-Men stuff for a bit, because this shit took me a while. I spent like a week and a half just trying to figure out what I can cut out and what I had to keep. But we'll call it a day there. Thanks for coming back for part 2, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having us back in your car, your headphones, wherever you're listening to us. Your Alexa, I don't know, something. Wherever you're listening to it. Alexa, play Soulja Boy.
Play Crank That, Soldier Boy. Clean with an Amazon Music Unlimited free trial.
Alexa, I didn't know you were in this room.
It's
Stop.
free for 30
Alexa,
days.
stop. Sorry, guys.
There's a station for you
Alexa,
anytime.
stop. I didn't realize there was an Alexa in here. I was just trying to activate.
That's why you did it.
No, I was trying to activate everybody else's Alexa. That backfired on me heavily. So, we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for coming. And, yeah. Thanks for listening. Share with your friends, your family. Give us a rating on Spotify, Apple Music. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Share it with your older heads that don't like using Spotify because it doesn't work right. I can't find what I'm looking for. And the app always closes on me every time I open it up, Dad. So just share it with somebody. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Peace. Bye-bye.